lot to talk about after what happened at Tottenham this evening. One of the big discussion points was the concussion suffered by Jan Vertonghen. He had an injury during the match, then tried to continue on after a lot of treatment, had to come off, and we saw distressing shots of him being ill on the touchline. If you were with us on RT2, you will have seen us having a chat about that, and just wanted to continue that now, Didi, and just maybe tee it up for us by giving us your view. You feel that something now needs to be done to address this, what is a very serious issue?
Yeah, there's no concussion rules in football, and I think it's about time. We had some incidents in the past, and when you are concussed and you go back on the pitch and maybe get another knock on the head or head the ball, you could do some serious damage. So I think it's time to do something about it. But in football, it's probably not as easy because we don't get these incidents so often. In rugby and American football, they happen on a weekly basis. And I understand there's a concussion sub who can come on for 10 minutes. Is that possible in football? I don't know. So something needs to be done. But if you do something, I suppose you have to change the rules, because to find out if somebody's concussed, it will take up to 8, 10, 12 minutes. And I think it's too long a time to play with a man down.
Richie, that would be the sensible thing to, well, change the rules. I know it's not straightforward, but it's very important that this is addressed.
Yeah, I think it's potentially too serious not to. And I think you've got to be ballsy enough to make a decision or introduce a protocol or rules that some managers are going to be annoyed with, and some players and people will go, listen, this is over the top, this is unnecessary, this is too much. But then the flip side to that is you rule out or prevent altogether, hopefully, not just scenes like we saw tonight, but potentially worse. Like, hopefully he's okay in the dressing room tonight. Hope he is. Yeah. But for a scenario like this to happen tonight, for someone to be getting treatment for so long and to come off the pitch, and having been under medical supervision for that whole time, go on, and within about 60 seconds, he's dizzy, he's wobbling, he needed people to hold him up, and he was vomiting. So, like, that scenario is allowed to happen at the moment. So the footballing authority, the medical experts, whoever makes the decisions, are allowing this to happen. And if they wanted it to change, it could change by the weekend. They could just nick the best bits of the rule changes in the other sports, because we're dealing about the exact same issue. It's an acquired brain injury with human beings in a contact sport. So it's not like you have to invent a scenario where you go, Jesus, how will we fix this? Just go, well, they do it, and we'll ask, rugby, what would you change about what you've got? What are you learning from your NFL do it this way? Well, what could we take from them? But at the moment, there's a scenario where this can happen.
Well, there is a protocol, a UEFA protocol, where the medical team who were examining and treating the player, they let the referee know if the player is fit to continue. So that was their decision out on the field of play, and then his condition deteriorated.
So maybe tonight it's not about the protocol; it's about the decision making of the people who were charged with implementing the protocol. Maybe a judgment call that they made, or whatever communication went on. They actually, like, you can't stand over what you did there tonight, lads. Like, what happened? Maybe it's just about that rather than...
I think someone suggested about the independent...
An independent doctor,
because in the Champions League semi-final, the managers pick the team, the best team. If the doctor then says, oh, you need to take him off, the manager's not happy, you know what I mean? And if you ask the player's like, yeah, of course I want to carry on. So it can't come from someone within the club. It needs to come from the outside, from a UEFA delegate or whoever it may be, to say yes or no. But it's a very tricky thing. You either need to go down the line of having a substitute, a replacement player or whatever for 10 minutes.
A blood sub type of thing.
Yeah, but you won't be able to. I agree with every point made. I don't think it would be possible to do that on the touchline. I think it requires taking the player to the locker room, check him there, and it will take the best parts of 5 or 10 minutes. And then we need to see whether there is a concussion sub, whether we want to change rules, have to change rules. But I think that incident today showed that something has to be done.
There's too much at stake, though.
There is, but then it comes down the line. It's like, if that player comes off for 10 minutes, the guy who comes on scores a goal, does he then have to come back off for this fella to come back on and all that business? So it's a...
But they're all the
or if he gets sent off or something. Right, but look, this isn't as complicated as VAR. It's not.
But like, it's just if the will is there to go, okay, well, what's there at the moment isn't enough. It's not good enough. And then, okay, well, what do we do? And then you just kick around.
And I think, in a way, the good thing is we have the discussion now, because we shouldn't wait for something to happen before we say, well, why has nobody said, or why has nobody started that argument or that discussion? And I think something has to be done before somebody gets seriously hurt.
Yeah, well, hopefully Jan Vertonghen is okay. They were distressing pictures that we saw earlier on in our broadcast.